In a world increasingly shaped by climate change, geopolitical tensions, and evolving agricultural practices, the future of food security has never seemed so precarious. As we look ahead to 2025, a growing consensus among experts warns that many essential food items may vanish from supermarket shelves altogether, heralding a crisis that could transform the way we eat and live. The landscape of global agriculture is changing rapidly. The impacts of climate change manifest in erratic weather patterns, prolonged droughts, intense storms, and unpredictable rainfall, all threatening the delicate balance of food production. For instance, fish and seafood, staples in diets across the globe, are experiencing significant declines due to overfishing and oceanic changes driven by rising temperatures. Coral reefs, essential habitats for many marine species, are suffering from bleaching events exacerbated by climate change, leading to dwindling populations of fish that once provided sustenance for millions. Rice and wheat, two of the most crucial crops in human history, face their own dire circumstances. With rice being a primary food source for over half of the world's population, its decline would have catastrophic effects. Rising sea levels threaten rice paddies in coastal regions, while erratic weather patterns disrupt harvests. Similarly, wheat production has been hampered by excessive rainfall in some areas and droughts in others, compromising yields and threatening global supplies. Coffee lovers might soon find their morning ritual disrupted as well. Climate change jeopardizes coffee-growing regions around the world. As temperatures rise and precipitation patterns shift, suitable land for coffee cultivation is diminishing. This not only threatens the livelihood of farmers, but also risks pushing prices beyond reach for consumers. The olive oil industry is not immune to these challenges either. Olive trees are sensitive to shifts in climate conditions. Rising temperatures and water scarcity can lead to decreased harvests. With demand continuing to grow for this healthy fat, the potential for shortages looms large. Then there's beef, an industry heavily reliant on vast tracts of land for grazing. As deforestation continues to claim significant portions of our forests for cattle ranching, the repercussions are twofold: environmental degradation and a precarious food supply chain. The livestock sector faces immense pressure from both climate change and shifting consumer preferences towards more sustainable diets. Honeybees, often overlooked in discussions about food security, play an invaluable role in pollinating crops. However, they too are under siege due to habitat loss, pesticide use, and climate fluctuations. The decline in bee populations could lead to reduced yields for fruits and vegetables that rely on these vital pollinators. Eggs and fresh milk are staples in many households worldwide. Yet production is facing hurdles due to rising feed costs linked to grain shortages caused by adverse weather conditions affecting corn and soybeans, the primary ingredients for poultry and dairy feed. These increases inevitably lead to higher prices at the grocery store. Vanilla, one of the most sought-after flavors globally, also finds itself on the brink of extinction. A labor-intensive crop primarily grown in Madagascar faces threats from cyclones that destroy plantations and from diseases that affect the vines themselves. The volatility of vanilla prices reflects its scarcity as consumers scramble for what remains. As these essential foods face an uncertain future, the implications extend far beyond mere inconvenience. High prices will become a norm as supply dwindles. Accessibility will diminish, especially for low-income families who already struggle to afford basic nutrition. Communities may experience increased reliance on processed foods as fresh produce becomes scarce, a trend with serious health implications. The unfolding crisis calls for immediate adaptation strategies at both individual and systemic levels. Farmers must pivot towards sustainable practices that enhance resilience against climatic shocks. Diversifying crops can safeguard against total loss during unfavorable seasons. Investments in technology, such as precision agriculture, could optimize resource usage and maximize yields under challenging conditions. On a broader scale, governments must prioritize food security within their policy frameworks. International cooperation is crucial. Sharing knowledge about sustainable farming techniques can help mitigate losses across borders. Additionally, creating strategic reserves of staple foods can cushion against sudden market shocks caused by geopolitical strife or natural disasters. Consumers, too, have a role to play. By supporting local farmers markets or opting for seasonal produce, individuals can contribute to building a more sustainable food system that values diversity over mass production. Awareness campaigns focused on reducing food waste can also alleviate some pressure on supply chains. In conclusion, the challenges posed by declining food supplies present an urgent call to action for all stakeholders involved, from farmers to policymakers to consumers themselves. By embracing innovation and collaboration while fostering sustainable practices, it is possible not only to avert a looming crisis, but also to create a resilient agricultural landscape capable of withstanding future shocks. As we navigate through these turbulent times together, let us remember that the choices we make today will shape the world we live in tomorrow, one where access to nutritious food should be a fundamental right rather than a luxury reserved for the few. As we embark on this journey toward a sustainable future, it is essential to acknowledge the intricate web of challenges facing global food systems. The urgency of addressing these issues cannot be overstated. With the specter of scarcity looming ever larger, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment in history, one where our actions today will have lasting consequences for generations to come. The plight of agriculture is multifaceted. Climate change has emerged as a central threat, altering weather patterns and disrupting traditional growing seasons. Farmers across the globe are grappling with unpredictable rainfall, prolonged droughts, and intensified storms that wreak havoc on crops and livestock. This volatility not only jeopardizes food production but also threatens the livelihoods of millions who depend on agriculture for their survival. In parallel, geopolitical tensions continue to escalate, contributing to instability in regions crucial for food supply chains. Conflicts disrupt transport routes, hinder access to markets, and create barriers to trade. As countries prioritize their own security and resources, the interconnectedness of global food systems becomes increasingly vulnerable. This fragmentation could lead to localized shortages even in areas previously deemed secure. Moreover, environmental degradation exacerbates these challenges. Deforestation, soil erosion, and water scarcity undermine the very foundation of agricultural productivity. The push for monoculture farming practices has depleted biodiversity, leaving ecosystems fragile and unable to adapt to changing conditions. In this context, preserving genetic diversity in crops and livestock emerges as a critical strategy for resilience. Among the specific foods at risk of extinction by 2025 are staples that form the backbone of diets worldwide. Fish and seafood face unprecedented pressures from overfishing and habitat destruction. The oceans are rapidly becoming less hospitable due to rising temperatures and acidification, jeopardizing marine life essential for nutrition and livelihood. Rice and wheat, two of the most consumed grains globally, are not exempt from these threats. In regions where they are grown extensively, erratic weather patterns are leading to reduced yields and increased vulnerability to pests and diseases. The projected rise in global temperatures could further diminish arable land suitable for these crops, necessitating urgent adaptations in farming practices. Coffee lovers may soon find their favorite brews harder to come by as climate change alters growing conditions for coffee beans. Rising temperatures and shifting rainfall patterns threaten coffee production in key regions like Latin America and Africa. With coffee being a significant source of income for millions of smallholder farmers, this challenge extends beyond mere consumer preference. It poses a direct threat to livelihoods. Olive oil production faces similar challenges. As olive trees require specific climatic conditions to thrive, fluctuations in temperature and rainfall threaten yield consistency. The Mediterranean region, known for its rich olive cultivation heritage, is already witnessing shifts that could impact both quality and availability. Beef production is under scrutiny as well. Livestock farming is resource-intensive and contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions. The increasing demand for beef is straining land and water resources while contributing to deforestation, a vicious cycle that threatens food security at large. Alternative protein sources are emerging as viable solutions, but cultural preferences and market acceptance remain hurdles to overcome. Honey production is another area facing potential decline due to habitat loss, pesticide use, and climate change impacting bee populations. As bees play a crucial role in pollination, a process vital for many fruits and vegetables, The reduction in honeybee populations could lead to cascading effects on crop yields. Eggs and fresh milk also face challenges from shifting agricultural practices and increased production costs driven by environmental factors. As dairy farms navigate regulatory changes aimed at reducing carbon footprints, consumers may experience rising prices or limited availability of these fundamental staples. Vanilla's fragility is emblematic of the struggles many specialty crops endure. Primarily grown in Madagascar, vanilla cultivation requires specific conditions that are becoming harder to maintain due to climate variability. As a result, this once ubiquitous flavoring may become a luxury item rather than an accessible ingredient. The ripple effects of declining food supplies will inevitably lead to higher prices across the board. Consumers will feel the pinch as basic necessities become increasingly unaffordable, especially for those already living on the edge of food insecurity. This trend could exacerbate existing inequalities within societies as vulnerable populations struggle to access nutritious options. To address these pressing issues requires collective action, from policymakers enacting supportive legislation to consumers making informed choices about their food sources. Sustainable practices such as regenerative agriculture hold promise in restoring soil health and enhancing biodiversity, while ensuring food security. Innovation must play a central role as well. Investing in research focused on developing resilient crop varieties can empower farmers facing unpredictable climates. Embracing technology such as precision farming techniques can optimize resource use while minimizing waste. Education is paramount in this endeavor. By raising awareness about the importance of sustainable food systems among consumers, we can foster a culture that values local produce over imported goods. Supporting local farmers not only strengthens communities, but also reduces reliance on fragile global supply chains. Furthermore, collaboration between governments, NGOs, businesses, and communities will be vital for creating comprehensive strategies that address food security holistically. Initiatives promoting agroecology can bridge traditional knowledge with modern science to enhance resilience across agricultural landscapes. In conclusion, the path forward demands urgent attention and unwavering commitment from all sectors of society. The challenges posed by dwindling food supplies are daunting yet surmountable through innovation, sustainability, and cooperation. As we strive towards a world where nutritious food is available for everyone, regardless of socioeconomic status, it is imperative that we act now rather than wait until scarcity becomes our reality. Let us remember, the choices we make today will determine the landscape of our future, where food sovereignty reigns supreme over scarcity-driven desperation, and where every individual can partake in the bounty our planet has to offer without fear or limitation. Together, we can cultivate a legacy rooted in resilience that sustains us all in harmony with nature's rhythms, a legacy that recognizes access to nourishing food as not just a privilege, but an inherent right bestowed upon every human being on this earth. The choices we make today will determine the landscape of our future, where food sovereignty reigns supreme over scarcity-driven desperation, and where every individual can partake in the bounty our planet has to offer without fear or limitation. Together, we can cultivate a legacy rooted in resilience that sustains us all in harmony with nature's rhythms, a legacy that recognizes access to nourishing food as not just a privilege, but an inherent right bestowed upon every human being on this earth. As we stand on the precipice of this pivotal moment in human history, it becomes increasingly essential to understand the threads that connect our food systems to the myriad challenges we face. The looming specter of food shortages casts a long shadow over our collective aspirations for a sustainable future. Scientists and experts around the globe are sounding alarms about the imminent decline of several staple foods, each one a cornerstone of not just our diets but also our cultures and economies. Take fish and seafood, for instance. The oceans, once teeming with life, are now confronting unprecedented threats. Overfishing, coupled with rising sea temperatures and ocean acidification, disrupts marine ecosystems at an alarming pace. By 2025, if current trends continue unabated, many popular fish species may become rare commodities rather than dietary staples. With entire communities reliant on fishing for their livelihoods and nutrition, the ramifications could ripple through economies and societies worldwide. Rice and wheat, two of the most consumed grains globally, find themselves at a crossroads as well. Climate change wreaks havoc on weather patterns, leading to droughts in some regions while others grapple with excessive rainfall and flooding. These climatic extremes jeopardize crop yields and threaten food security for billions who depend on these grains as their primary source of sustenance. The challenge extends beyond mere production. It encompasses equitable distribution and fair pricing, ensuring that everyone has access to these essential foods. Coffee lovers may soon find their morning rituals altered as climate change pushes coffee-growing regions to shift or vanish entirely. The delicate balance of temperature and moisture needed for coffee cultivation is becoming increasingly precarious. Regions that once thrived under specific climatic conditions are now experiencing droughts and diseases that devastate coffee plants. What was once a reliable source of joy and energy may soon transform into a luxury item, one that only a privileged few can afford. Olive oil, revered for its health benefits and culinary versatility, faces similar challenges. The Mediterranean basin, traditionally known for its olive groves, is grappling with water scarcity exacerbated by climate shifts. In regions where olives have flourished for centuries, farmers are witnessing decreasing harvests while struggling against invasive pests that thrive in warmer temperatures. As production declines, prices soar, pushing this staple further out of reach for average consumers. Beef production is not immune to the consequences of environmental degradation either. Cattle farming contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions, yet it remains a critical source of protein in many diets worldwide. However, as land use changes driven by deforestation and droughts escalate, raising cattle becomes increasingly unsustainable. The ethical considerations surrounding meat consumption are evolving alongside environmental imperatives. People are reevaluating their dietary choices in light of these pressing realities. Beyond these staples lie other vulnerable products such as honey, eggs, fresh milk, and vanilla, all integral elements in kitchens around the world. Honeybees face population declines due to pesticides and habitat loss, jeopardizing both pollination and honey production. Eggs and dairy products are at risk from changing climate conditions affecting livestock health and productivity. Vanilla is particularly precarious. Primarily grown in Madagascar, it suffers from both political instability and the ravages of climate change that threaten its delicate ecosystem. The implications of these potential shortages extend far beyond mere availability. They touch on socioeconomic structures that dictate access to food resources. A world grappling with high prices and limited availability will exacerbate existing inequalities. Vulnerable populations, those already facing food insecurity, will bear the brunt of this crisis unless significant action is taken. In light of these challenges, proactive adaptation strategies must be put into place now to avoid dire consequences later. Communities need to invest in sustainable agricultural practices that embrace biodiversity rather than monoculture farming techniques that deplete soil health over time. By fostering local food systems that prioritize resilience over sheer productivity, societies can better navigate the uncertainties ahead. Education plays a pivotal role in fostering awareness around food sustainability issues. People must be equipped with knowledge about where their food comes from and how their purchasing decisions impact global supply chains. This awareness can empower individuals to make conscious choices, supporting local farmers who practice environmentally friendly methods or opting for seasonal produce over imported goods. At a systemic level, governments need to collaborate internationally to address the root causes of food supply crises, geopolitical conflicts that disrupt trade routes, policies that support sustainable practices, incentives for innovations aimed at increasing crop resilience against climate impacts, and funding for research into alternative protein sources that can lessen dependence on traditional livestock farming. Moreover, technological advancements can also provide pathways toward greater food security. Vertical farming initiatives harness urban spaces for agricultural production while minimizing land use concerns. Aquaponics systems combine fish farming with plant cultivation in symbiotic environments, maximizing resource efficiency while reducing transportation costs associated with conventional agriculture. Ultimately, reimagining our relationship with food requires collective action across all sectors of society, from individual consumers to multinational corporations. It demands commitment towards fostering equitable systems where no one goes hungry amidst plenty. We stand at a critical juncture where we must act decisively, not out of fear but out of hope, for what lies ahead. A world where innovation thrives alongside tradition, where cooperation surpasses competition, where every person enjoys access to nourishing meals sourced from healthy ecosystems thriving under mindful stewardship. As stewards of this planet entrusted with shaping tomorrow's landscape through our choices today, let us embrace an ethos rooted not only in survival but also flourishing. Let's commit ourselves wholly towards cultivating harmonious interactions within our communities while honoring nature's wisdom guiding us forward into an era defined by abundance instead scarcity, a legacy worth leaving